Alright guys, welcome back to, and gals, welcome to HiFly Radio. So as mentioned in the last video, I'm just getting going with getting set up to do the RV10 build again, and some of the tools that I already had were things like this guy right here. It's a DRDT2. This is an older one. It's a little bit thicker metal. They don't make them this beefy anymore. This thing is a beast, and essentially it's just to take and I don't mean to insult people, but if you've never done this, you may not have a clue what this is. So essentially you've got a C-frame here with a lever that you pull down to do dimpling. And you know, a lot of these airplane parts, they will have, you know, holes pre-drilled, and you'll have to put a dimple in there for like a flush rivet or something. And that's what this is for. You take these guys right here. These are dies, different sizes, different size holes. You've got flush rivets. You've got kind of a half or concaved, I don't know how you want to call that. It's kind of shaped like this, like a rivet that's, you know, has like a cup to it, you know. And then you have a flat type of die. So you're just, you know, squeezing both sides essentially. And the way it's kind of premises to work, so you take and you got your dies in here, usually the male's on the bottom and the female's on top. So you put it over the hole, or you do it like this, and then you just manually actuate it with your hand, and it puts a dimple in the actual part. Move to the next hole and you keep doing. So you're kind of doing like this. And if you have these big pieces of skin, you know, a lot of like skins and things like that, not necessarily just a small part like this. So you're having to support, and sometimes you'll see people where they build these little supports up to them so they can just slide the parts around. And this C-frame is really deep for long pieces. So if you have say you've got like a big part that comes all the way out here, and you've got all these holes that you've got to do, the further you can kind of go back in here, the larger piece you can work with. So that's kind of the premise besides this big giant thing. So, and but that's what this is for. Big heavy chunk of piece of metal, just a dimple. So the problem with this one is you're doing your part and you're doing this, and you know, you're trying to move these big heavy pieces of aluminum around, and it can be unstable. I've seen people, it slides off and they end up catching that side of the hole and it tears and they don't get a good dimple. So the solution to that, and what I think is the solution, and apparently other people do as well, is to, let me get this off. Ugh, heavy thing. Is something like this. Bam. So essentially the same kind of setup, a C-frame here, but you'll notice, let me get this kind of, there is no arm, okay? So I'll show you guys this too. This is a hand squeezer. So same principle. You put your part in there and you manually actuate it, and it's worked by air. And what you don't see is there's a piston in here. I don't have it in it. It's actually mounted to this. But the piston will come up, and you take these same dies and put them in here and here, and it closes on it and it squeezes. It can do rivets, and it can also do dimpling. So, and this thing's heavy. Like, you get a workout. Which I'll show you another tool that kind of takes the place of this, which will be easier to use. But what I wanted and what I was looking for is this thing right here. This is made by Clemson Aeronautics. Mr. Hassan is the owner / designer. I believe he's an engineer and a retired airline pilot. So I think he does this, you know, in his retirement days. And he makes a few products, and I will show you that. Like, so this is the yoke that comes off the squeezer. So this is the one I had, but I wanted his yokes because he has different sizes. Stuff for, you know, longerons. Here's a 4-inch. The stock one is a 3-inch. And then I got his 3-inch, but there's things about this one that make it better because the shape and things being able to get into places, a lot tighter places. Plus, it's a lot more material in his yokes than the standard ones you buy, so there's no flex. And that's kind of his premise, is he's going for quality of the dimple and the quality of the squeeze versus, you know, speed. And I kind of wanted speed and the quality. So the best way to do that essentially is to, in my opinion, is to free up my other hand. So having to, like I mentioned, having to do the manual is kind of a pain. So what the principle is, you take your squeezer, you take the yoke off of it, and then you mount that yoke, or the squeezer part, to the actual dimpler, C-frame. So this is, this has been around a while. They make conversion kits for the DRDT2, which he sells one, and that's what I originally was going to get. But he mentioned that he had one that was damaged, that he couldn't sell, had a dent in it. He didn't want to sell it to anybody, so he offered it to me. I paid for the conversion and all the yokes. This is kind of a bonus either way. There's a little bit of a setup on this that talks about how to adjust it. Nothing hard. He talks about it in his videos that he has on his website and on YouTube to look it up. And it does exactly what that DRDT2 does. It just uses the pneumatic squeezer. And typically you have these bolts that you have to put in here to remove the yokes. Well, he sells these nice steel pins that are that have magnets on them, so they go in really quick. Bam. So if you're changing out yokes while you're dimpling, with, like if you had this, using this as the hand, or you need to take it off here and go do something with it, it's real quick versus having to get 2 wrenches and remove them. They're held, they're magnet with a rubber O-ring on it to keep it from damaging anything. Those are awesome. I might get 2 more to go on my my other hand squeezer. But this one's going to stay on the C-frame. And it's the same premise. You take your dies, put those in here, and then I'll go ahead and hook it up here for you. You have some air. Oh, all right, so now it's got air on it. And the normal way of doing it is just, and what's a pain about this is you have to pull down and then pull to get it to dimple. That's all it does. It's the same as this. So everybody's like, well, why is that faster? Well, it's not like this. It's more accurate, and you can get a good, you know, if you adjust this properly, you get a nice, good dimple every time. You just have to be careful, because you're still, again, you're still using one hand. Well, the alternative to this, which he shows you, is you can get one of these. And this is just a foot pedal. And this is not a new product either, but if you go to any of the online aviation tool and like aviation supply stores that most people go to when they build these experimentals, that foot pedal is like $150 or $250. And that was $19 with the guard. And it looks just like the one on my new, I can't say that, Num ATX hand squeezer. But it's 19 bucks versus whatever, 150, 250 they cost online. Now with the foot pedal, I have 2 hands. So I'm controlling my part if it's a big part, and I can kind of go nice and slow and watch it without having to do this and figure this out. And press the pedal, it squeezes, release, move to the next hole, and it's a much more accurate quality dimple. Plus that's going to make, it's going to be faster because you can move the part and move along. If you got like, you know, there's what, 12 or 14,000 rivets in an airplane. So you think about that many holes. So the quality and the, you know, having to go back and order a part that you mess up when something slips is what's going to pay for itself. And we kind of talked about that a little bit, because it's not cheap, but it's not overall. His yokes, for what they are, being thicker and more durable and less flex and more accurate, they're not that bad at all. They're actually cheaper than buying the stock yokes that you get from a lot of these companies. He makes 2 versions of this, one for squeezing rivets and dimpling. This is just the dimple. The one that does both is essentially got 2 steel brackets right here that you can bolt in to keep it from flexing when you squeeze a rivet. This is not for that. This is just for the dimpling. He also sells the a fourth yoke that allows you to basically take this part of it and then mount it to a table. So now you're using just the squeezer mounted to your table and you're just doing the parts without a C-frame. I didn't need that one because it's going to stay on here, but that's totally an option. And he also sells, like I said, he sells these pins. He sells the Haas polishing and cut wheel that most places, I ended up paying 59 bucks for it. He sells it for half, like 39, I believe, or 30 something for it. So, and then if you go and get the 3M one, which is 150-ish, which is ridiculous for a wheel on your grinder. So that's another thing he sells. But anyways, I just want to show you this one because it is a really good product, and it's one of the most, well, not most used probably, but it's a very common used when you're building these aircraft. And me starting the horizontal and elevators, we'll be using this a lot because it's a lot of skin with a lot of rib rivets that are dimpled. They're all flush rivets. That's the thing about an RV10. There are some pull rivets, but most of them are smash type rivets. So you're using a rivet gun with a bucking bar and you're hammering them flat. And they're all flush though, especially on the outside. The outside skin is all flush, which is good because that, you know, it makes for speed, I guess. I guess it's less, you know, so it's faster. So, but anyways, Clemson Aeronautics, South Carolina. I'm guessing he's a Clemson fan. Roll Tide, sorry, but good guy. I'm planning to get him on the channel. He mentioned coming over because we're not too far from each other. Me being here in Huntsville, and I support, my job has me going kind of to the South Carolina as well. So I might pop over and do some videos at his setup and show you his factory and that kind of stuff. So a little bit long of a video. This is like the 5th attempt. My GoPro was overheating and shutting down, and it appears to be a bad battery. Like that battery, I couldn't get it out of the GoPro because it puffed. And if you know anything about LiPo batteries, it's not a good thing, which I got to get another camera. So if anybody's got a good recommendation for a camera for, you know, setting up to track movement, or, you know, or even just setting up like a GoPro and filming this stuff, let me know, because these GoPros are crap. You know, I can't turn it on the good settings without it overheating before I get halfway through a video. And then that battery is not that old, and it's basically about to explode, so I can't use it because it got hot and it's causing everything to get hot. So anyways, look him up. He's easy to communicate with via email and on the phone. The packaging on this was really good. No issues with packaging and shipping. I placed the order that day. He said, hey, he sent me a shipping label and said track it that night, and then the next day it showed up. So very quick. Of course, that's going to depend on where you're at. Obviously, I'm just a state or two away. But look him up, and I'll do some videos showing you this thing working in the future. And then the next video is probably going to be me going over all my hand tools and the rest of my setup. I'm trying to find air fittings and everything for stuff. And it seems to be hard to find those kind of things these days. The usual places seem to be out of a lot of the stuff. So, but we'll get there. So you guys have a good one. Got some Metallica jamming. I got to get the speakers in the shop still. Talked to my buddy today, Jace Lewis. Look him up. Cool guy, great music. He's doing some cool stuff with some other bands right now. Had to go back across the pond, but hope to have him on here one day and do some interviewing with him and bring, you know, his friends and stuff like that. So that's kind of what it's about, and then get flying. So you guys have a good one. Don't forget to subscribe, give thumbs up, thumbs down, any comments, feedback, talk too much, you know, I'll answer them. So you guys have a good one. I'm gonna go grab a beer because it's Friday night and listen to music. So cheers.